wherever you are. Make it Truth Frequency Radio.
When you finally boil it all down, magic is imagination. We are moving into an age of manifestation. Things become actually less material, more ethereal. The golden dawn is when we awaken to this new station of life. What you think becomes real quicker. Regain our imagination, regain our inner child, and let that inner child out.
My name is Frank Castle, founding member of the music group Heistlick and New York City Neo Shaman. After a serious injury sidelined my career in 2013, I decided to set out on an adventure to search for myself with the help of the plant medicine Ayahuasca. What I discovered waiting for me was something I could have never prepared for. It was time for me to become something more, someone more. It was time I became fearless. Shine as my heart beats a rhythm with space and time. When the light starts to shine inside your third eye, you awake to the knowledge that you never die.
The AI that infected the game really just wants full control, trying desperately to keep everyone inside the machine. I walk over to a control panel on the wall to my right. Okay, it's that time again. I was sending the machine. I need some information. The first thing I ask, where's the exit? A door opens next to me, and a staircase is leading up. The staircase becomes a tube of swirling energies around me. I can see screens like TVs swirling in the spinning energies. The spirals of energies went upward. I looked at the screens, and the voice asked me if I was ready to get some of those answers I was looking for. I was very interested in what was happening to me. It was like I already knew what was happening. I needed no screen or being to show me anything. I was Arcturian, and I could see the bluish-purplish commander being. Then I became him. It was me. I could see the wars and the efforts put forth throughout the universes. Yes, universes. I could see my family, my allies, my crew, my sacrifices. So many of us here doing the same thing. I was introduced to the female warrior that was me. She was an Arcturian warrior. She had muscles on top of muscles. She had the most beautiful red hair up in a ponytail. She wore a sword and a cape. She had giant breasts barely covered by some athletic bikini top. I could see right away the one thing that was off about her. It was her face. It was a little different than everyone else's. It was fat and pudgy. She had giant lips. It looked like her face is smushed. But she's big. She's over 6 feet, so it almost makes her look like a Muppet. But in a very, very weird and real way. Great. Well, I guess that's me now as well. Now I know where I get my lips from. Paula says, thank you. And I laugh. As I'm walking out of the room, speaking to my guide, I could see her in a training simulation doing the most impressive superhero-type athletic flips and moves. Her speed was unmatched, and her fighting skill was very high levels. I love her. I asked my guide, how far do Paula and I go back? He smiles as the energy with the screen returns. I could see us on one of the screens. We are cat beings, and we have 2 children, a boy and a girl. We were a beautiful family. I knew somewhere out there I had children and spent lifetimes with Paula. I back out of the screen of this experience, and something was off. My emotional attachment was not there. I could see the screens wanting my attention and actually begging for it. In each one, countless lives spent with my love asking me to return. Enough. No more bullshit. I screamed with my arms raised. All the screens sunk back into the energy, and the energy began to swirl upward again. I could now feel my face as if I was pulling it out of a bucket of water. The energies looked like rubber bands releasing me. I was looking down into this ball of energy that was spinning and swirling. The colors were beautiful. I saw that the ball of energy was between two pieces of technology, like two towers, with the ball of energy in the middle. I felt like I was in a cubicle on a spaceship. I stepped back and realized that I was a being of light. My expression was that of a man. I was beautiful. I was so happy. I looked to my right, and I could see where we were in space. Bay windows and a giant circular room. It was breathtaking. I thought to myself, so this is it. As that thought faded, I turned to see the next terminal over, and on my left, it's Paula. She was beautiful, just like me. She was flowing with love. I smiled, and she smiled back at me. I was overcome with joy. I noticed that out of the energy ball in my terminal, there was Frankie, like a little version of me that was searching for answers, popped up out of the ball of energy. He was beautiful. Like a little child, he looked at me in wonder, and then to Paula. He waved to her, and she looked over, so excited, and waved back. Was this really happening? This is such a wonderful moment. Now, this is where it gets cool. I look over at little Frankie, and he looks at me like two children seeing their best friend. We scream, "It's Irma Yua Frieta." Irma Yua Frieta. Like we were singing it. Her name rang out like the most amazing song I had ever heard. I know Paula's name, and it's beautiful. I was filled with excitement. I love her so much. We go way, way back. She looked at little Frankie with such love and wonder. She loves me as well. Irma Yua Frieta. Little Frankie sang, "I love you." I became little me and looked with wondrous awe as Irma Yua Frieta looked back at me with so much love. Her energy invited me into the terminal of energy. She then dunked her head into the energy ball, and I began to see her name spiral out of her head and into the energy. As her name passed me on each rotation, I heard the song of Irma Yua Frieta begin. Each time her name passes, more words get added to her name. Spinning and swirling, more words were then added. Then there were sentences, then paragraphs, then books, then the stories of legend. What a beautiful song. It never ends. It's you. I jumped into the energy with her, and I sang her song to her as she revealed to me more of our connections, our lives, and our families. This was one of the most beautiful moments ever. It was pure love. I thought now was the best time to get out of the shower. I was very excited to tell Paula what was happening. I'm going to stop it there. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's Saturday night, and I'm Frankie FearLess, and this is the greatest night in radio. I'm with my etherical translator, Paula Milo, and my best bud, Josh Carruthers, is in the house tonight.
Yo, Frankie, what are you doing?
Chilling, my brother. Shout outs to Ra. We were just on the show with him.
Yeah, that was so cool.
I had so much fun. Thank you so much for letting us spend time with you. And shout outs to Chris and Sharia Gio. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here. And our chat room folks. I love you guys so much. Fearless Family is in full effect this evening.
Oh, and check out the website.
We are fearless.com. Don't forget to check it out.
And get a subscription to TFR. You'd love it.
Yeah, you can sign up to TFR. Throw a little Fearless in there with the Fearless R subscription. So we know who's signing up with us, and we love you. How you doing, Paula?
I'm good tonight.
That was a crazy story, right?
It really was. This is part of your microdose experience.
And this is part of the microdose experience continuing from last week. We're going to do all 14 days and just do a little bit each time so I don't spend forever on whatever. But it just amazes me how, in actuality, today's our anniversary.
The
day we met, and now we're discussing me meeting you on the other side, on your higher self. Once again, one of the funnier jokes is that I get there and Paula's already there. I'm like, it's so lonely here when you get there first, and then I look over and she's staring at me like, oh, you finally made it.
I think that's hysterical because, people tease me because I don't drink as often as Frank does. I don't feel it's necessary that I do. And I don't like the idea of being sick. And there's so many reasons. And I really do try to do a lot of the energy work without drinking. But Frank, will do this microdose experience, which was probably one of the best experiences of your life.
Microdosing
And
did
it was
something.
it was very difficult, but it was a very good experience for you. I don't think I could handle that. But, he teases me that I don't do these things, but I'm still there with him.
Well, it's in one of the things I'm learning. It's the bloodline as well, right? After my mother's little doodaddy, I understand now why the smallest amount. But I've been talking about this and saying it, so I might have just trying to catch up to my words, perhaps, like because I'm kind of channeling the higher me while I'm doing everything, so it has to catch back up on the other end. But watching my mother. And then moving through to this point, we're turning into the DMT and the ayahuasca and the mushrooms. And it's not that it's a psychedelic. It's a tool of organic technology that helps us advance to these stages, but it's already in us, right? And we're not using it.
You just activate it.
So Aya explains to me, like, I don't drink Aya all the time, right? So.
No.
It's not like that at all. It's a ceremonial thing. It happens a couple times a year now, and that's it. But all the information carries through, but not only, and I answered these questions today to someone, like, you just see it? And I'm like, well, what's your definition of see it? I'm just a tuning fork. So I'm tuning in. So Aya takes you through the weird experiences. She's showing you. Then the mushrooms are helping regrow neural pathways. You're regrowing brain cells. Just all kinds of great things are happening. The DMT, you're made of DMT. The molecule is in you as a molecule. So this is just like the tech to speed up the process and to help you understand what's happening at these moments and then live the moment. Like, you're not supposed to live over there. You're not supposed to go there all the time. Right. You're not supposed to go and hang out with Aya and to the point where you're just like, hey, man, I see you 3 times a week. Let's go. Like what are you putting in your life? Like, what are you doing for service to others, even service to your own self? You don't have time to do anything if you're constantly uploading data from Aya, because that's what it is. You're getting blasted with heavy loads of data transmissions, and then your internals are being cleared out. All the memories you have are like memories stored on a hard drive that have to be taken out. You have to be defragged. You have to be put up into the cloud. But you're all that. You just can't carry it in your human, in your flesh suit, because it causes other problems when you hold stress in and all, hold in a fart all day. You'll know what I'm talking about.
It's lovely, Frank.
Well, you got to keep, they tell me to keep it simple. So we're becoming the Aya. We're becoming the DMT. We're becoming the mushroom. We're becoming the light being. We're coming online. Right?
We're allowing the plant medicine to do its job, I believe. And we're allowing it to happen because there are people who fight it.
And what does the medicine do? It heals you.
It does.
Right. So within the healing, the real you comes out.
It allows you to look at the same memory with more clarity and not be afraid. Like if a dog bit you when you were a child and you were afraid of dogs and you clear that neural pathway, now the next time you see a dog, you won't be afraid. Like, I mean, that's just a simple example, but that's what it does. It takes those memories and those hurt feelings and that abuse and pain and it helps you understand it in a better way, and it really helps you move on. Anything that you thought you were missing, it really puts it into perspective, and it allows you to let it go and then move on. And that's what you need to do.
And that is clearing out your hard drive.
Absolutely.
This is what we mean.
Yeah.
Like each little bit of nugget that's in there. During all my experiences, each one I'd go under and realize I still got more PTSD or more stuff to get clear or more stuff. And they're like, do you remember that time you saw the kid get kicked and he was just like a little kid. He just got kicked and you're like, yo, I felt bad. You felt bad on a different level and it locked into this area of you. Now when you see like weird things. You snap sometimes
because it became its
where you don't need to get involved. You
yeah.
come over and you'll throw a kick at someone to get them off of someone else instead of just kind of ushering them off. That right there is a problem on the other end. So you got to fix that. And I had to witness it 70 different directions, perspectives from every angle. The poor kid getting kicked. And then I said, I'm sorry you got kicked. I feel bad I didn't help, but I was like 5 years old, you know?
Yeah,
and,
what could it, yeah.
And then it just unravels and you feel great. You know, that piece isn't locked in there causing whatever issue. And you, meanwhile, you know, you've been having a hard time going to the bathroom. You're constipated, you're this, you're that. And you're just going, well, I didn't drink enough water. I didn't do this. As above, so below. Internal, external. It's all working in unison. One of the things I read from the Law of One, and I think we talked about this, Josh, on the phone. Yeah. There's no difference from the metaphysical world, the spiritual world, to all world. When they asked him, what is the difference between the two places?
Yeah,
he
physical,
said,
metaphysical. It's like there is none.
There is absolutely no difference, which means you're just not aware that it's there. So it's not a spirit world. When we're tuned in, you'll just see it.
Right. It's like
right
you can't.
there.
There's only the whole one thing is of itself. So there's like these layers of the game, we can call them, right, or dimensions. So let's say I always think about the simplest idea of like the junk DNA as you, let's say, would raise your consciousness or frequency, if you want to use those terms or whatever. You go into another dimension because you activate these DNAs, right? Once you activate these DNAs, they're memory. Like now maybe you have the memory that you're this other being somewhere else, or
Absolutely.
There's another version of yourself like you're talking about.
You activate the fractal if you want.
Right.
You know?
But I also know this. It's like, okay, well, if you can do that, how come people just aren't doing that? And it's like, well, when that happens, then we'll be in a different game.
Right.
Because this game, we still have this amnesia thing going on, which I mean, the stories that I've triangulated is, there was a genetic manipulation to turn your stuff off. Just like you can even there's certain DNA within you that actually produces vitamin C, but it's dormant. So it's like, what? Isn't that wild?
Yep.
So you have to sit in the sun to produce vitamin C or eat it or whatever. But you actually, within the human avatar,
have the ability to create.
There's actually that. Just like I know there's that DNA that you have to probably regrow a limb if it goes missing.
This is what we were saying. It's not junk DNA.
It's dormant.
It's dormant. And when they tell you junk DNA, right, when they're looking at DNA and they see...
That's also a magic spell.
They're looking at human DNA.
That's a magic spell, calling it junk. They're like, oh, it's not.
But they're not looking at non-human DNA. They're only looking at human DNA. They're not looking
at the non-human aspects
of it
which
at
it's
all.
just junk. They'll just lump it into that word
which
junk.
Would make it junk.
And which is what Josh is saying. It's a magic spell. By saying it's junk, we all say it's junk, and everyone goes, it's just junk DNA.
So
don't look at it. It's stupid.
But
it's not.
It's junk.
Yeah. There's nothing to see here behind the curtain. Okay, so that DNA that lies in you, okay, and I'll speak from my FearLess family members and a whole bunch of LCU creators out there, when they hit it, the bloodlines, the when they talk about, the pure bloodlines and the this and that, they're looking and they're searching out there for the bloodline that houses the higher density beings. They've been doing this forever.
Yeah, they're looking for who. I mean, this guy also too, like
scream tribes of Abraham and stuff like that gets weird for me. I don't like to do that.
But it's the same thing,
but
really.
It is though.
It is. You're looking
Oh,
for
they
your
scattered
family
to the wind.
Or the 12 tribes of Israel.
Okay, well,
but that's what weird. You're looking for your family of origin.
Right,
That's
right.
what you're doing.
That's exactly it. But see, here's the weird. I don't like to talk about this on the show too often, but here's my little hint of knowledge. When I've spoken to Ra, he said to me, what does the word Israel mean to you? And I said, Israel, desert, people doing the wrong thing, controlling the United States, whatever. Like I went into all these weird things.
I don't believe that. But
no, I just went into
Frank's
it. Doesn't
opinion.
He asked me, and
Right,
I
your
just
opinion.
said what I knew of Israel, but I'm not smart when it comes to the policies and politics and who's right with what land. Like I don't know. I have no idea. But he said no. Is Isis Ra, R-A, Elohim? Okay. Would we, if I was standing where Israel is, need to point a missile at anyone on this planet and say, no, I'm Israel? And the answer was no. You could do whatever you want. You would never need to do that. And he goes, right. I love you, and I don't come from a place of of being a dominator.
Right.
Yes, and I'm like, no, of course not. Okay, well they do. Then you have people, excuse me, claiming to be tribes, and everybody's vying for the spotlight. No, it's me. No, it's me. And you guys are all running around looking for the fake and the false. And the false light would be the one screaming, look here, it is me, it is me. Whereas the real would just be walking through life, not even having a clue what he was. He would just be living this is how it was explained to me. So the genetic mutts had the DNA from the real Israel. I'm looking at you. You don't have to. This isn't about you believing.
No, I know that. I'm just saying. I don't believe. This is where we disagree. That's
it's
all.
not even a disagreement. This is my conversation with another being.
That with another being.
So he said, we would never need to point missiles and appoint anything at anyone. We would just be what we are, and that would be what it is. We wouldn't have to make false claims. We wouldn't have to say anything publicly. We would just kind of go through it. And I said, oh, okay. So you're talking about the Antichrist compared like the Antichrist energy, the false light technology, the beings that would be in places. They're like, if you look at Israel right now, they're pointing missiles at every single country on the map and saying, if you don't do kind of policy with us, we've got the United States working with us. And I'm like, well, that's rude. That's like, this is how I saw the perspective change for us as the United States. It began to look like the Empire Strikes Back in Star Wars to me, where I thought we were Luke Skywalkers and we're really stormtroopers without even knowing it. Like we were working into that circle. And I'm like, yeah, but we didn't agree to this. And it's like, yeah, well, your ignorance is just getting you deeper in trouble. You're not doing anything to get out of it. No one's speaking up properly. No one's doing the right thing. You're hitting, there's gatekeepers everywhere. Nobody's there. Everyone's blaming people in the pit like it's their fault. But meanwhile, you have all this right here in front of you. So it's basically as we unlock and the ignorance comes out, all of those, the DNA unlocks, all the things they've been searching for comes online. And then we are aware of them because they cannot do that. And it's like the trap being shown to us because the trap won't work on us anymore. Nothing.
Israel is an ally to the United States. That's all I have to say. I don't agree with what you're saying at all. And that's okay. We're coming from two different points of view. But Israel is an ally to the United States.
Okay, but I don't think that was part of it. And it was relevant that we were allies to them in that conversation as well. It was just, what are you doing as allies to the rest of the world? That's irrelevant in the terms of what is Israel? What does it stand for? What does the name mean to you? Right? I was like, Jewish people. And they were like, what? Like I got yelled at over and over for the stupidity that would be the mirror reflection of the entire United States ignorance in a few sentences shoved right back into my mouth because of total ignorance.
Right.
That's why this conversation needs to just be out there, because we don't really have a clue of what's going on around us, right? So this was my point. Those with the multiple, the mutt DNA, those are the ones that are the creators. Those are the ones they're looking for. They would make you feel that a mutt isn't a pure breed, so it's no good, right? Another spell casting. It's actually the best one because it has the elements of every single one. Yes, this one might be a better runner, a better jumper. It might have a longer lifespan. It might, just be easier to teach. But the other one has a predisposition to be able to do anything inside the human being. I'll make it more relevant. So if you stuff all that in there and that junk DNA comes online, you're activated as like the Isis, the Ra, the Elohim. The names would come off as activation codes, like activating the Shiva, and all of it comes from love. So anything that's weaponized with anything other than love, this is maybe a better definition, would be better for this, for you to see what is doing, what kind of consciousness is pushing out that thought or that idea or that agenda. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Right? That's weird.
No.
So all that's coming back online now. So this is where we get the gnosis from, because it's already us. It's already in us. You just reach a level of awareness. You look so shocked.
I'm not shocked. I'm fine.
Are you okay? Do I have to
Yeah.
do the Israel dip on you?
No, I'm totally cool.
Okay. How do you feel about that?
I think there's, about the DNA, I've always thought that a while back there was, I forgot which scientist it was that there's a big story put out about it, about how much of the DNA within the human avatar was like alien to this planet, even. So that was
alien to the planet.
that was a very
universal. Being where the living
multiversal.
Thank you.
right.
All right, the living library.
Yeah,
You'd have to have everything.
We are the living library. Yeah.
Well, also the idea that I've come across from multiple sources is that this is the densest dimension.
Yeah.
So three.
The most dense dimension, the most dense planet in the most dense dimension.
Right. Well, also 1 through 3 are in the we're in the 1 through 3, right? I mean, of course they're all within that, but so I think about this too, like as you go up through dimensional structure, do these things just reactivate? Like there's the idea of a dissension process, or you've heard this term, the fall or whatever, which is really, let's say, memory loss.
That's like the deactivation.
Right, downward
and
spiral.
And then the spiraling back up would be the activation. Like when you activate the Shiva or the Buddha. All in you. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. Come back. We'll have more. We'll hang out. We'll talk more. Don't forget, check out IamWeAreFearless.com. I am.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
Am I awake or is this a dream? It's a dream. It's a dream. A fantasy where I'd rather be. So come and talk with me. Come and walk with me. Is this a wake-up call from my reality? Have you seen my friends? Have you seen my girl? Wake me up from this. I'm trapped in this world. Thought you were alive until you felt my pain.
I spoke to Paula and went to rest on the bed. I was so happy and relaxed. I began to see a very creepy crawly worm start to crawl across my chest. What is this? I'm so clean. Get off of me. As I said this little blue bird began to appear. They start to peck at the worm, but nothing happens. The worm's armor is too thick for the birds. One bird tries to eat it, but the worm is too big. The birds then swarm the worm, but that does not work either. So I say, we need a bigger bird. With this thought, a giant blue bird appears. With one peck, the bird pierces the armor of the worm. Then in one swift move, grabs the worm up into its beak, raises its head high, and swallows the worm. I was getting the message. The early bird gets the worm. Wait a second. That's it. I'm here. I got here early ahead of the others, and I decided to explore a little bit. What comes next? I asked calmly. I should have never asked. The message comes through loud and clear as I begin to see what's in store for me. I see reptilians next decide to attack me. This time it's different again. This time the word seduction slowly moves across my line of sight. They're going to send a snake that will appear as a woman, but it will be a snake. She will use all of her gifts of seduction, but remember, it is not a her, it is a snake. I could see her. I could see the plan laid out as they prepare yet again to harass me. I can see them making her so that I may be interested. The looks, the smell, everything was perfect, but not really because she's a snake. So I ask, and I'm shown the ways the snake will try. The snake will dazzle you. The snake will use pheromones to sedate you and control you. The snake will say everything you want to hear. Then I saw the snake wearing a dress, and its tongue lashed out at me with a hiss. The snake will hypnotize you, wrap around you, and comfort you. Then when you feel so safe and warm, it will slowly begin to restrict around you. It will bite you and inject you with its venom. It will then crush the life out of you and eat your poison-infected body. So that's the plan. Seduce me and eat me. How unoriginal. I laugh out loud as I think to myself, well, I guess the snake wants to meet the rock star. I jumped out of bed to tell the universe I'm thankful and grateful for the heads up. There has never been a better time to find yourself than right now. So that was my thoughts on that day.
Isn't that funny? Because we just got off of Ra's show and we were talking about the snake.
And I meant to mention this before, as Ra's talking on his show about reptilians and snake men. I took last night out during the beginnings of the full moon, which is now tonight, right? I took all the villains of my superhero figures and put them all out in front of me.
Oh, yes.
And I said, okay, you guys got until tomorrow night because it's transmute time. Like, I don't even want to see you guys anymore. But in the front of the whole thing, I have a giant snake creature. It's like a half man, half snake looking thing. It's really, really scary looking.
Scary.
And it's from the Conan collection back in the day. And I kept it thinking, wow, that's pretty frightening.
Mm-hmm. Little
Now
did
I
you
have
know.
all these Marvel characters, DC and Star Wars characters, and then this one character out of the whole thing is a snake man.
I had no idea.
This is the closest thing I've seen to what they look like. This one has muscles and stuff. It's a little too muscular. The ones I've seen were exactly like this, but not as muscular. It was like tall, thin. They're creepy. They
have tails?
Some do. Some just like... Here, Josh. Check this guy out. It's just like this. I saw them like that in lab coats, so it wasn't like muscular lizard snake man, right? It was like a guy who could wear a lab coat, but like this. And I'm going, well, what's up with these guys? When my first meeting with them, it just kept coming at me. And like it was, like it wanted me. Right. So I offered it food, and it was like, it looked at the food, then just looked at me and kept coming. I told the story on the show before. And I couldn't get it to stop coming at me and trying to eat me. And they're like, well, you can't ever because you're what it wants. It doesn't want anything else if it's in the room with you. These things work that way. So if you're in front of it, it wants you. It doesn't want your friend. It doesn't want this. If it's looking at you,
just focused on
you, so it's coming to get you. You got to see how these things work so you can work in a way to either avoid it or have full understanding of this.
Right.
Because when you had your Aya session and you were under and you were having the birth thing.
Oh, yeah.
Those were snake men doing that. They weren't reptilians. They were snake men with reptilians like in the back.
Now, I didn't see that. I was on the other side of it. I was in the tube. I didn't see people at all or snake men. I didn't see anyone at all. It was just, I was isolated. I didn't see past the glass tube. I didn't see past it. I didn't see anything else. I saw the water. I saw the glass. I saw me in it. I don't remember if I looked like myself or not, but I didn't see any other beings in the room with me. I was isolated and alone.
Okay, from my angle, I saw the
Which
tube.
Is so weird.
Right, that you were in. I saw that it was pink liquid. So it reminded me of amniotic fluid. That's what was told to me.
Yeah.
I didn't even come up with that. Like I was smart enough to say that.
Amniotic, yeah.
Thank you. And you would drown. That's where you get the when you're under eye or when you're breathing like that. Yeah. I'm like, well, that's how you breathe when you drown. And they're like, well, she's drowning, but then you can breathe that liquid. And then it's also like a disinfectant to your body because when they're putting stuff in you and then they're keeping you in the sack with you having something in your sack. Does that make sense?
Nice, Frank.
It's a Russian nesting doll. I didn't know how to say it, so I had to say it like that.
Thank you.
But those men came out.
About your sack, Frank.
No, your sack. And
I've been breathing in your sack.
So they were, and on the action figure, you can see that it's got claws and stuff. they were taking whatever it is they wanted, and then they were just accessing the bottom of the tube and pushing it in
Right.
from there. And I was going, no, 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 no. And they were like, ignore him. He can't do anything. He's not allowed. The way the reptilians were telling me, we're not going to do nothing. They were like, you're not allowed to do anything. You cannot interfere.
No.
So I was only allowed to
No.
hold you. I even said to you, just be
Yeah,
fearless. And you're
basically-
like, I'm not afraid.
I'm
I'm not afraid of any of this.
not afraid.
And it's just that they're not stopping. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, there was no break in between. It was just constant. But anyway, let's talk about happy things like me. Tell me about me on the other side.
You were, we were spirit bodies. We were in a giant room, like a giant circular room with windows facing outward that you could see space, and everything sounded, and it was so soft, but our movements sounded like music. Just because I said, this is weird. There's no, the sounds weren't heavy. We look like what Ghost would look like. Right? Except we were wearing clothes, wispy. So when we moved,
Nice
like
metaphor.
the way I would turn to look at you, it would go like,
right.
right. So, and then the thought would come in and it would almost sing.
Like gracefully moving through
Graceful,
space.
Thank you. Okay. So,
Frank was gracefully moving, but now we could see it.
I made a comment like that. I go, hey, I don't seem so stumbly bumbly over here. My Frankenfoot doesn't happen here. And they're like, oh, no.
This is ballroom, Frank.
Yeah, this is
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
we can glide here. But you had that same, your color was slightly different too. Like I had a bluish white and you had a pinkish blue.
So what did you think when
I don't know if it was pink
you
or-
saw me already there?
I sang to you immediately. I sang your name.
Weren't you originally like, are you kidding? She's already
Yeah,
here.
but
Because you had to go through all of that pain, basically.
well, I go through it in a different way than you do.
What are you talking about? Like you met outside the game and you're like, look, we went through the whole game.
He did. His higher self
All right.
saw my higher self.
We were in.
When he was in his experience, it was day 6, I think. of
You're
his
like, man, my
microdose
Sims
experience.
character had a rough time through all that, man.
He kicked open the door and he was like, "You're not gonna believe it. You were already there." And I just started laughing.
So
at him.
there's these computer terminals, right? A piece here, and they arced slightly, and there was a ball of energy in the middle.
Okay.
My higher self pulled his head out of the ball of energy, and it was like, oh, I'm back into reality. And I was like, what's happening? And then I looked over and she was there. And I was like,
Oh,
whoa.
wait. Okay, so just so I'm going to share my visual of what you just said. So like basically right now we're in a simulation.
Yes.
Okay. And we're actually all in different rooms.
right.
Or in the, no.
We're in
We're all in the
terminals
same.
next to
We're all in
each
the same room. Like basically, like we're all playing the same video game.
Right. But our
And
higher
what
self
is going
out.
on? Like you put on the Google goggles, right, for the virtual reality game. Except our
Right.
virtual reality game is sticking our head in a ball of light. Like,
Uh-huh.
Your energy as the energy being,
but
it
we're
disseminates like a record player into the energy. And you
So
downward
basically-
spiral in and
right.
upward
Like
spiral back.
so my vision is us at these like almost standing up at these kind of like desks with these hovering energy balls, whatever, and you've literally stuck your fifth dimensional face into that thing, and then you're playing all these multiple game characters
Yes,
within
it's-
the lifetimes, and then you pulled your face out and you see Paula over there, and you're like, oh, you already pulled yourself out of the game? You're like,
Yeah.
dude, I went through all the drama.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just waiting for
Well,
you.
that
right
happened.
here.
Good, then
that
I'm gonna
had-
let go. I don't have to care about anything anymore.
I
Woo!
have four
Yeah,
dudes in
let
here.
it go.
We're made of
man.
love, guys.
Really?
I figured it
Nice
out.
English. Like, let it go.
I had 4 dudes in the room, right? And
Yeah.
put everyone under DMT, and then I went under, and I was getting like this crazy gnosis. So I kicked the door in to tell her a story,
Yeah.
and then she's just sitting on the bed, like with her legs crossed, and she's just watching TV. And the back of her head cracks open. I hear the crack, and I'm expecting her skin to fall off, like what happened with you when you were here.
Yeah.
Where you just, but no, it cracks open, and I see the light as if it was when they paint oil, when they do the oil paintings of saints,
Mm-hmm.
and they draw the halo this way,
Yeah,
over the
yeah,
head.
yeah.
and it was lit up, and she was just sitting there, and she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? because that was the exact information. I was going to come in the room and tell her, did you know we were the enlightened ones?
Yep.
And they were like, ta-da. And I go, are you kidding me? She's just sitting in the other room watching Game of Thrones for the 500th time.
I was crying and laying in a fetal position.
I'm out here clawing and sweating
why?
my way through this, and then there she is. But that's how it works. Everyone's on their own thing. So I look over, but then little me came out of the energy ball, like a little naked Frankie boy. And I looked at him, and he looked at me.
So wait,
naked baby
you start
Frankie?
having the perspective of your higher self looking at little mini Frank?
Mini
Like
Frank came
big
out
me,
of the
little
ball
me?
of energy, like what's out here? Because as a creator, little Frank, they were explaining. I asked all the questions, you guys, like as well, like what's going on here? Why are you here? Why did little Frankie just come out? And they were like,
Does
little
Frankie like coffee
is a
too?
creator.
Yo,
Right?
little Frankie looks weird.
So that character inside of the simulation, right, is his own.
Wait, say that again?
So the character,
Little Frankie.
little
we're
Frankie,
talking
right
about
now, this guy
Yeah,
right
yeah.
here,
Tiny you.
little me has the ability as a creator and the individual self and the singularity of the fractal whole inside of the program
Yeah.
is capable of stepping out of the program. That's how powerful we are.
Yeah.
So little Frankie came out of the energy ball. It's like your character coming out of the video game, stepping in the room with you and going, "What's happening in this room?"
So let me get this more correct then. So basically, little Frankie comes out of the energy ball and sees big Frankie with your face stuck in the thing.
I pulled my head out already, and that's why I was
Whoa,
like,
and so
whoa.
then little Frankie sees
Just comes
big
out.
Frankie with his head pulled out,
He comes
seeing
into the
Paula
room.
going, "You already got here first?"
Yep.
Whoa,
And
so
we
we've
started
got like
singing.
a triad of something going on here.
I was split into two.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so because that wouldn't. All right, so
So there
there's
was the
many
higher-
you having that perspective of seeing the higher self.
It's like me going up there and literally physically coming out of the energy,
And
going,
Right,
"What's
right,
happening?" and
right.
peeking
Peeking
into
in and
where they
seeing what's
from their
going
room
on.
and going, "How are you doing this?"
right. Munchkin you goes to bigger you. Hey, what's going
What's
on in the
happening?
game? See,
Yeah.
And
So-
you're like, oh, I've already pulled my face out. She's here.
But I asked because there was a problem that I had immediately being there. There was this weird eerie silence.
Yeah.
That when the characters move, it's like sounds like a song's playing almost. But when you can attribute that to a ghost moving through a room and it's going ooh, right? But
right,
they're
like
really,
a theremin.
it's so weird, right?
Yeah.
But when they look at you and focus, you can hear them.
Okay.
But I'm like, why aren't you guys just hugging and kissing and stuff? And they're like, well, it's different here.
Aren't we in heaven?
I go, you have to, no, see, this is where I went nuts. I go, so you guys can't do certain things? And they're like, well, we could do anything, but this is what
we don't choose to.
we
Yes.
do this
'Cause
as
it's
that's like their entertainment
because
almost.
it's
What do you mean, watching us trip
purpose-driven.
out?
No, we're
No.
them.
Yeah.
They stick their heads in the bowl and it creates us.
Right.
Right. So then I go, there's more than this, right? And they're like,
Right.
yes. I go, this isn't the highest and furthest you can
But
go.
this is what I'm working on
And
right now.
Yes, and those beings were like, yes, but our purpose
this is-
is to be
it's
here
because it's
on this ship to
bec-
do this.
Because it's purpose driven.
Wait a minute. Wait. So the higher self's on a ship.
Yeah, I was
Oh.
on I said I'm on a spaceship. They go, yes, we're on a spaceship.
Oh, see, no, but this just got. I mean,
Oh, well,
I
it was
I
a
didn't know about-
starship. They
I
hate
didn't-
when I say spaceship.
Okay, so you're on a ship made of consciousness.
There was metal, dude. I was standing in a metal terminal,
Oh wow.
and there was just energy balls of light coming out of the terminals with beings that were spirits sticking their heads in the energy.
I mean, it has to be this way. Like, it has to be that this is like. I think about this all the time. Like, when people die, you just wake up out of the dimension. It's not like
it was just like that.
right. Like you're like, oh man, the game, and then everybody's worried about you still. Like in the
I
game,
felt like
they still
I took
think
my
it's
head
like
out
real.
of a bucket
Right.
of water, and
Right.
I was snapping out of it, but in reverse. You know how you'd
Right.
splash water on your face?
Right.
This was like
Pulling
water
yourself out of water.
coming off my face.
Right.
Right.
And then I was like, I had no attachment to anything inside that bowl.
It was
of
kind of
light.
like when you smoke DMT, you
I
feel
did
that layer
not
peel.
care. I did not know about little Frankie till he came back out. I didn't know I had a parents. Nothing.
Right.
I was just this being, the I am.
Right.
Right.
And then I looked over, and then he came out, and I was like, so beautiful, little Frankie. And he looked at me like, yay. And then I pointed, like, look who it is. It's Paula. And he looked over and was like, what? And then we started singing her name, her real name. That's how I wrote it down.
Right.
That was like the one thing I remembered so hard. I was like, how the hell am I going to remember that? They kept shortening the name. And I go, no, sing it more, and I'll remember it. And they
Right.
were like, oh, okay. And they were just singing it over and over. And then I started singing it. And the name, all right, so you sing the name, and then it comes back around the energy like a record player, and then it's like it would be like Josh, and then Josh is love.
Right.
Josh is
Or
love
spiral.
and
Yeah.
beauty. Josh is love, beauty, and rock and roll. Josh is beauty, love, rock and roll in the universe. Josh is love, and the all. Josh is, and it just keeps going.
Yeah,
So your
it's
song
like
spirals down.
in the beginning there was that word that keeps going.
Yeah, and it just goes.
Yeah,
it's like your
man,
song's
yeah.
being sung. It goes
Yeah.
to the bottom of the bowl. It descends and then comes back up, and then just enters you, and you just pull your head out, and then you just dip your head back in again. And I'm like, well, that's boring. And they're like, well, this is what we do. And I'm like, well, there's more. You know, there's more. You hit that wall and you're scared because you're like, oh, that's it, huh? So it's this us. And I'm like, no, I've been out of Source, and Source is above this. I told them straight how it is. I go, they were like, yeah, we can walk in and out of Source as well. I go, you know, you could walk out of Source too. They were like, we know. And I go, why don't you do that? They're like, because we do this. Without this,
Right.
you can't do what you're doing.
Right.
What do you mean walk out of Source? How do you
I've
walk
been
out of
into
No, but-
Source,
okay,
and then a portal opened in a higher density than Source.
No.
And I stepped out, and Source did not have a clue what was going on, which
Right.
made me think it was an artificial source to a degree.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess where my brain goes is like really the all consciousness. I'll just say all consciousness. There's no out.
Just keeps going.
Right.
That's what.
So
that
like,
was what was
so
happening.
like you keep. It's weird because like what the question becomes this: how many games are we in?
Well,
we will
infinite.
never know.
I know, but what I'm
until
saying is
we're
like,
not here.
yeah, you're right. I mean,
I woke
yeah, we.
up in one of those canisters that she was in, but except it was good, and the being there was like, hey, you're running the Horus program, you're gonna love this part. And I go, but we're out of Source, we're out in another.
Yeah, some other density.
Like if we were in 1 through 7, now we're in another 1 through. Now we're in
right, we popped out of that
8
other
through
octave.
14.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I go, this is impossible. I started freaking out. I thought they wanted us to gain the information in the game so we could come back and
Right.
fight the AI in the physical.
But remember,
And I was
once
freaking out. And they were
once
like,
those
nah.
frequencies change,
It's
you
more
cannot
relaxed than that.
vibrate at a lower frequency. So once
Yes.
they change, that's it. You're done. You can never go back.
You can't plug back into the matrix and think you're just going to go back in and be plugged back into the central core and that's
Right.
it. You're part of the game again and you forget everything. No. Once you awaken the singularity, it's a wrap. You hit a level, it's a checkpoint. Those stick with you into your next lifetime.
Yeah.
Throughout the rest, like you just keep hitting those.
So I
That's
had it
why-
explained this way too. This was an interesting concept, which I like, and I mean explained from some Pleiadians. They said that imagine that your lifetimes are like you set this up like a game. Like there you have like let's say a baseball game has 9 innings,
Right.
and each lifetime is an inning. Because I at one point when my conversation with them, I was like, "What? This is frustrating that I keep turning off the memory and doing this." So they're like, "Well, as you go through these processes, it's kind of like playing a game. Your incarnations, and like you're gonna stick it out till the 9th inning because there's a bigger idea going on here than just one lifetime.
Yes.
Once you have multiples that you string together, because you're stringing together reality right now. There's no, once you string together these other loops, then there's another piece of your consciousness that gets off harder. You know what I mean? Like as everybody listening to the show, hey, I'm sending you guys love and all that stuff. As we and everybody listening, the whole reason everybody's listening and we're all looking at each other and we keep showing up is because we want to remember that it's us.
Yes.
Because the more you remember it's you,
yes.
know thyself. You've heard it in every saying, whatever.
It's like crack.
That you get off, dude. It's like,
Yeah, I
and when you
agree.
open your chakras, it's like you're blowing your load. And everybody, why do people like sex? Because that's your closest remembrance to like what you are naturally. That orgasmic feeling is what
Yes,
you are.
it's
That's
what
your
you're
energy.
supposed to be experiencing all of the time.
Which would be a little intense to run in too much of the light, the information. And when I say light, I don't mean the mystical, like this just whatever. I mean literally
Yeah.
information.
It's all
Too much
information.
information that you're the thing is like too much for this personality to handle, because then you pop out of the game, like you said. Then little Frank shows up and goes, "Look, it's Big Me sticking its face in the thing."
Yeah,
And
what are
then
you
you're,
doing
you're
here,
seeing,
buddy?
you're seeing Russian dolls, and then how do you come back? Well, now you have a show and you're talking about it, but most now, to some people, you're like we talk about all
It's
the time.
purpose.
We're the crazy guy in the movie, or you're the crazy guy in their movie.
Right. So it's purpose
Yeah.
that drives us. So seeing him, seeing them, feeling the love, getting a better understanding from Frank's perspective, instead of just changing into one of the light beings, I was both characters. So I had understanding of this was just a game. I have no attachment to any of this stuff. It's just gnosis to me.
Yeah.
And then the little guy coming out and me going, I love you. And I go, oh, that's that love.
That's
But I was a man doing it to a man, so there was a first.
Self-love.
It was like a dad to a son,
Yeah.
but
The
it was
hardest,
me.
yes.
Oh, it was awesome. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
look. And I was naked, but it was so cute. I was going, we were hugging, and it was weird. He was little, tiny.
Yeah.
This spirit being was huge. And then they showed me from a better perspective. They allowed me to sing the songs, see visually what was occurring.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew already there was more than them, which drove the smiles on their faces when I said, there's more than this, right? They were like, yep.
Mhm.
I go, but this is so boring and lonely for you. They go, is it? I'm you, and you guys are in love, and all those lifetimes you saw inside of the energy. And I go, yeah, they came up as mirrors and fractals. What kind of simulation is this? They were like, you're running the Horus program, period. You're inside the machine doing this, because I'm standing right here, but then you can even leave this area and go up higher, which you've absolutely have been, because they'll look at you like, okay, you're getting it, but then you got to come back, and what makes you come back to this is, as you come back down, you remember. You're like, oh, bro, I got Paula, I got my cats, I got my mother, I got you guys, I got my family, I got this, that, the other, and I'm like, they're not attachments, it's us. We were just on the ship together. Boom, 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 boom. And it's the Russian nesting doll. Say all your pieces are on circular tracks separate.
Yeah, concentric
they all
circles.
line up perfectly like the universe when it lines. I mean, the galaxy and the stars, shit lines up sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Perfectly. And you're like, bro, that's awesome. When that happens, it could collapse on the singularity. And you pull that gnosis to you. And the one thing I've learned about what we're going to do in this lifetime is bring that character in, because it's us. And then that character has total rule over wherever they decide to go. It's like the one character that can just go anywhere and do whatever.
Yeah, it's super Ubermensch. Superman.
We just watched a movie on that last night where they do it through injections. They try to create the Superman in this Netflix show. Is actually pretty crazy, and to put a guy on Titan, and they make it work, but they go through this horrible thing. And as I'm watching, I'm like, look at what they're doing. They're taking the natural, organic way, perverting it, becoming successful, but it was the most painful thing you've ever seen.
Right.
Or you can just kind of, we can do this. We don't need to do that. We don't need to take injections.
It's like
and
eugenics.
put all kinds of nanotechnology in us.
Right. That's what eugenics is all about. So that movement started pretty Nazi, way back about, it also comes back to these certain bloodlines, tracing extraterrestrial bloodlines back to who are the blue bloods and who are the royal,
those are the teams that came in and got amnesia. So it's like all the lizards that went into human bodies. They try to recollect them and put them into socialized secret society groups that run things. But meanwhile, they're making the contact with their other selves.
Well,
it's
also,
all agreed upon before they come here.
We're going to leave it in this.
Well, it even goes into the Corey Good information.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Thanks for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for being here. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Happy Easter, everyone, if that's what you celebrate. I love Paula. Thank you for being here with me. We're your protection from deception. We're also pretty sexy.
I love you guys.
Remember to love yourself first, then go love others.